Second speaker appears ready. Eric's pocket speech about everyone's having a speech in their pocket prompted David to give a speech tonight. Eric's speech was the best he has ever given, and he is such a talent that most members, including myself, refuse to compete in the upcoming contest. I can only hope to have his talents someday, and I'm so sorry I didn't give Eric an introduction. Let's welcome David Goldwich to the lectern. You won't do that again, will you?
Get rid of this. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters and guests. What keeps you up at night? Do you ever struggle with burning questions that keep you from getting to sleep? I know what keeps Eric up at night, trying to figure out why football makes sense. And I have to correct you here, Eric. It isn't that they hug this pigskin. They try to throw it as far away as they can, and then they carry it for a long time and they just slam it onto the ground and they kick it. I'm not sure they really love that thing. But you know what keeps me up at night? It's not some really deep philosophical issue like, what is the meaning of life? Or what is my purpose? And it's not some transient concern like, where are we going to go for brunch on Sunday? Or how am I going to make my car payment this month? It's a question that's been haunting me like a Halloween ghost for over 40, probably closer to 50 years. And it's this. How can you have any pudding if you don't eat your meat? I've tried to figure out the answer to that question. It's not easy. But before you can answer a question, you have to think about the question and truly understand it. So I've been trying to figure out, what does that question mean? Where does it come from? Why do they ask that question? And I've come up with a couple of possible explanations. The first concerns control. The song by Pink Floyd and the video that you may have seen, Another Brick in the Wall, depicts a bunch of kids in a school that's like a factory, and they're miserable. And there are a lot of rules. And they try to control these kids. And as parents, some of us have done this too. So the idea behind that question might be, how can we force our children to obey by withholding things they want? And I think that's a terrible way to raise kids. I think we should raise kids the way we raise chickens. Free range. Isn't that right, AJ, our chicken lover? Free range children. Let them run amok. That's the way I raise. I've only got one daughter, and I raised her that way. And when she was in school, I spent so much time in the principal's office. A lot of the other kids thought I was just another teacher. But she turned out great. You have to nurture the kids. Don't try to control them. Every kid is different. They're not going to be like you. They're not going to live up to your expectations. Let them be themselves. Let them be children. And when they grow up, they'll figure it out. I think if you try to control them, you'll do too much damage, even though it may seem easier at the time. That's one possible explanation for that question. The other possible explanation that I've come up with is it's about our conventional ways of looking at diet and food, that the main dish is somehow more important than dessert, and that you can't have dessert unless you finish your main dish. I don't really buy that. Consider the typical American breakfast. 2 eggs, bacon, toast, hash browns or grits, coffee and orange juice. That's not a really healthy breakfast. And yet that's what most people think you should eat. If you go to Europe, it's different, but it's not much better. Over there, it's usually a croissant or bread, maybe a pastry, and coffee. And they say you need to eat breakfast. I don't think you do. I know a lot of people who skip breakfast, and they function better. So where does this breakfast myth come from? Well, in the old days, when people worked 12 or 14 hours in a factory, the bosses wanted you to have something in your stomach so you could be productive and not get your hand chopped off in the machine. And then the cereal companies got involved, and they started saying you have to have a bowl of cereal every day to do well at work or school. It's just a way to sell cereal. Do you really need breakfast? I don't know. For me, I don't need the eggs or bacon, sometimes cereal. I've been known to have leftover pizza for breakfast. Why not? And I often have typical breakfast foods for dinner. Sometimes I do have cereal for dinner. Or sometimes my favorite breakfast food, pancakes or waffles for dinner. Try that sometimes. As long as you're getting a healthy diet, not too much garbage, not too much fat or sugar, not too many carbs, I think you'll be okay. It doesn't really matter the sequence. So whether they're talking about controlling the kids or monitoring your diet, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Give yourself the freedom. And hey, teacher, leave them kids alone. Toastmaster of the evening.